Hello, happy Wednesday. How is your life balance in the area of community? We've talked about the four quadrants that I like to think of as having a connector life, and definitely community is one of those areas. Are you actively volunteering and giving of your time to support your community? Maybe you're contributing financially, which is great too. Don't get me wrong. I think our organizations definitely need our support that way, but volunteering is very important both for us and for the volunteer organizations in our communities and even broader nationally and around the world. So welcome to Connector Dots. These are brief, candid insights on healthcare, pharmacy, and life for connectors and pharmovators. Today, during our Wednesday Wisdom segment, we're going to explore the value and how that you can be involved with community volunteer work. I'm your host, Kimber Boothe. I'm a pharmacist, healthcare leader, and entrepreneur, and I help pharmacists strategically advocate for roles and resources to advance pharmacy practice and have enjoyable, engaging careers. I'm a strategic coach and consultant on pharmacy leadership. So some of the key points I want to cover today, and actually while I'm having a chance here, this Wednesday Wisdom is all about, personal development topics. And I just want to share, for those of you who've been watching my Connector Dots, I am a little taller today because I am actually standing. So I had a few months ago helped to start setting up my desk and having a special keyboard so that I could do kind of a sit to stand, since I didn't have an actual sit to stand desk. And so I've been utilizing it. And today I was doing this for my live session. So if you're not doing that, it's been great. I'm not sure that I'm going to do it for the whole day. Sometimes I feel like when I'm really concentrating, I need to sit down, but we'll see. So I'll be checking in with you on this topic. So when we talk about community, and again, I think of this as a big part of my connector life that I like to share and what I learned years ago. Of course, there's many ways you can quantify your life, and I did a separate session talking about that. So basically, when you think about the connector life, I think of it in 4 easy quadrants. It's just easier for me to think about things that way. So it's definitely yourself. I always like to kind of put myself first. Your family and friends. I do group them together, although you may treat them separately and do different things to manage those relationships. But I put them together in my quadrant of my life. And then your career. And the 4th is the community. So how can you engage with the community through volunteer work is critical, again, for both you and our organizations. Let's talk about some of the trends, then we'll talk about some of the benefits, and then how you can be involved. You probably already are, and you can potentially explore more ways or different ways that you can be involved. So it was interesting when I had a chance actually to look up some statistics on this topic, and I did find that through 2015, the U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics, they were doing annual surveys on the rate of volunteering. And unfortunately, through 2015, over that prior decade, the rates of volunteering in adults was actually declining. It was down to 25% in 2015. Now, a separate survey that I found that was done for 2017, the latest data I could find, was showing that actually the rate of adult volunteering was up to 30%, which I hope that's a good sign. It's just, when you're comparing different surveys, I'm not so sure that that's the case. And there's a whole host of factors maybe why volunteering was declining. But overall, it definitely brings a lot of value to our organizations. And they've quantified that because the time that gets put into volunteering, is worth money, right? Normally, if an organization had to pay people, there's a value to that. And so they identified that in this study that there were 6.9 billion hours contributed, which was worth like $167 billion at an average rate of $25 an hour equivalency, which was up. And so the rate and value of a volunteer hour was actually up. So I think, that is really interesting, and we're not going to talk about every different type of organization out there. We'll talk a little bit later about, again, how you can connect your passions to see where you would want to volunteer. But I thought those statistics were very interesting. Of course, they have found that the highest range, or let me ask you, what do you think? I know you can't maybe respond to me immediately right now. Which age group do you think volunteers the most? I have to admit, I probably would have thought it was people like in their 20s, college, etc. But it is actually more higher, like 35 to 50 is like the highest age group that is volunteering their time. Now, there's definitely benefits for you as a volunteer to be volunteering. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about those. Obviously, there's benefits to the organizations that we serve and the people that they are trying to support. But there are benefits for you. And that is why, of course, it's an important part of the connector life. You know, years ago, when I had stopped doing some of my volunteering, when I had children and I did feel too busy, I was missing it. And it took me a little while to kind of figure out what was it that I was missing. And it was some of my volunteer work. So I was happy to start including some volunteer work in. I didn't want to overwhelm myself having twins. So it was important for me, and I got a lot of value out of it. So what are the benefits? There is research on this topic, and you may not be surprised to hear that people who volunteer do live longer and are healthier. It also can establish very strong relationships when you're volunteering. It helps you to develop deeper relationships with those organizations, which help you and transfer into your career. Which benefit number 3 is that it is good for your career. So it's good for your career because you learn new skills when you're volunteering, as well as it's good for your career because being on your CV or resume, hiring managers do look for volunteer work. And many times when I've done hiring, people who've had leadership roles in volunteer organizations, that's appealing to me. So even if they haven't been a manager within a organization, if they've managed people within a volunteer group, that can be very valuable and a great way to develop skills where you don't have to get that promotion. You volunteer, you step up, you can lead a lot. It's definitely good for society. So we've talked about some of those benefits. Those number of hours that get contributed to these organizations is tremendous. And of course, if we weren't doing that, these organizations would not survive. And finally, the 5th benefit of volunteering is it does give you a sense of purpose. And we know how important that is with your careers, but when you're volunteering, this gives you a chance to have a different purpose. You know, you want to ideally tie it to your visions or your values, excuse me. But this gives you a different opportunity to tie that to a sense of purpose. Recently, I was coaching one of my coaching clients wanted to do some volunteering, and this person did decide to explore supporting a COVID hotline, which I thought was great in answering questions from potential or people who are sick, especially those who are having mental health issues or more stressful challenges. So again, many benefits of volunteering in your community. I want to share with you some of what my volunteering goals are and how I've thought through them. So I do see both my short-term and long-term goals for volunteering. Of course, I do this as part of my annual planning process. I have my goals, which does include what am I doing for the community quadrant of my life. Excuse me. So as I may have talked before about this subject, of course, for me, volunteering in pharmacy organizations is definitely very important. So I do think of that as one of my volunteer activities. I've also been very involved with trail organizations, volunteering on multi-use trails, like through Rails to Trails or local community groups that are trying to build trails. I love to rollerblade and definitely bike. So I'm usually looking for hard surface trails to support for that purpose. And I'm definitely interested, I have it as my goal over the next year to identify a local or national board that is supporting teens or women. So I would like to do something that has, again, both like a local impact, but they're part of a national organization. So if you know of an organization like that that might have some activities in Ohio, but also have a national presence, let me know. I'm definitely trying to, expand my goals, and that's kind of a passion of mine to help younger people, pursue higher education and careers in leadership. And so I want to help. So that's a new area for me that's on my goals. So my my short-term goals then were those for this year. And then longer-term goals are to potentially get on the board of a volunteer organization such as that, continuing to support my individual time, but then becoming a national pharmacy leadership position is my goal in the next few years, as I've transitioned now to doing some national leadership volunteering work rather than just at the state level. And someday, I actually do have it on my plan for 2029 to potentially, I shouldn't say potentially, I will establish a foundation to support the goals that I'm trying to help people with. So those are some of my volunteering activities. So how can you do this? This is really, your chance to think about this and brainstorm. So again, hopefully you're already volunteering and it's an important part of your life that you're making time for. I also do volunteer at my church. I don't know why I don't have that listed. Excuse me. So I do that, but I guess I'm admitting to all of you with COVID, I am not doing that right now because I was working with some of the kids during Sunday school, and just because not as many families have been going, I haven't been doing that. So potentially when this turns around, that will be something I will be helping with as well. So anyways, that's definitely a big area of volunteering, is definitely with your church. But this is your chance to really think about, again, what are your passions? What are your values? Where does your heart get broken when you see things? And identify ways that you can help with those ideas. So don't just do anything that comes up. People are seeking volunteers all the time, but try to do some soul searching and really think about those things. Luckily, you're probably a healthcare professional if you're listening to me. Luckily, we have a lot of value and purpose to our day jobs, which is fantastic. But there can be all different things. Maybe you love animals and you want to help out at an animal shelter. That's fantastic. Maybe you are, gifted musically and you're going to volunteer to teach kids who maybe can't afford music lessons. There's a whole host of things that you can do to volunteer, to tie your passions to your values over to whatever you're going to do for volunteering. So take this time, look at some ideas. You can get different ideas online as well, but take the time to really think about those things first before you kind of go out there searching. So thanks for joining me today on our Wisdom Wednesday. Join me for future Connector Live Dots. And please join the new community for pharmovators at facebook.com/groups/pharmovator. I also want to remind you of some news that's going to be coming out on Thursday about the Connector Life podcast that is joining the Pharmacy Podcast Network. So stay tuned for that. So I leave you with be bold, be a connector, advance healthcare and pharmacy practice. Thanks so much. Have a great night.